Good morning. My name is Father Rayappa. I am in A. Kattupadi village near Vello, India. I'm going to talk about Laudato Si, Pope Francis's encyclical on ecology and environment. Especially I'm going to discuss about the paragraph number 25 from the first chapter of Laudato Si, what is happening to our common home. And the Pope is shocked what is happening to our common home. The loss of biodiversity, the climate change, the global warming, and the issue of water. And there are so many problems and so many issues. But anyway, in this paragraph, Pope is discussing about the common good of our planet. Climate is the common good, but the common good is endangered right now. So he's discussing in the first chapter under the subheading called Climate as a Common Good. He's dedicating 4 paragraphs for this purpose: 23, 24, 25, 26. 4 paragraphs. And if you have Laudato Si, you can open up and you can read along with me. Actually, 25, the article talks about the implications of climate change. They can be environmental, social, political, economical. So there are a lot of implications and impact. All these things are affected. The environment is affected, society is affected, economy is affected, finally politics is affected, finally human persons. 7 billion of us are affected. So that is what Pope is talking in this paragraph. Especially, he is talking about adaptation. When you define what is life, 3 things are very important. One is consumption. I'm talking about eating habits. And the second is reproduction. Every life reproduces itself. The third one is adaptation. The definition of life is defined by consumption, reproduction, adaptation. So adaptation is very important. It's a key element in a life of an organism. So human beings they are organisms, and they are subjected to these 3 components of the definition of what is life. So we can't float in the air and think the problems will solve themselves, and we are a special creature, we are image of God, we are created little less than an angel, and we are crown and jewel of creation. All those things, they sound beautiful metaphysically, but in reality they are not. We are imago mundi. We are the organism of this earth. We are earthlings. We are earthlings. So we need to look into the 3 dimensions of our living. That is consumption, reproduction, adaptation. So Pope is talking about adaptation in this paragraph, number 25. Is stating that many people, they fail to adapt. They don't give importance. First of all, they don't know what adaptation is, but nature does it so beautifully. Look at the back of me. There used to be a kind of little forest here. My house is just in front, and our grandfathers have deforested them, and my father has deforested them, and I have deforested them, and we know their addresses. These are culprits. And this is vandalism. Actually, when some people destroy the temples and the landmarks and churches, we brand it immediately vandalism. What about this? What about this? This is ultra vandalism. My grandfather, my father, and I, we three are the culprits. We know their addresses, we know their even phone numbers, but we are roaming free. We should be put into jail forever for this kind of atrocity. Look at that desertification. So Pope is talking about now adaptation. What is adaptation? One thing, you can plant trees, you can afforest this area, that is one kind of adaptation. And the birds and animals, those who lived in this habitat, they all migrated. They all went away because they have to adapt. Adaptation really means if there is no food, if there is no water in this environment, you fly away, you move away, you migrate. Birds are smarter. Animals are smarter. Look at my dog here. He is not adapting, but he came from the wolf, you know that. All the dogs' ancestor is wolf some 10,000 years back. These dogs were domesticated. If this dog was a wolf, he would have never remained here. He would have gone away from this habitat and adapted itself. Only humans. We are, I don't know, we think everything is okay. This situation, this environment, look at that, simply tells us loudly, why don't you examine what adaptation is? So Pope is telling, some people can't adapt because they are not financially sound, because what they know only this village. They have never been outside, and they are afraid to move out because they thought this is their small little world, and they don't know. They are afraid. They have fear to move from this place to another place. But Pope is telling, animals and plants, animals, they can adapt, they can migrate, but the plants can't go. The plants, because of the climate change, global warming, they die. So they are resources. They were providing food and shelter for these people. But now, because of climate change, everything is ruined and people suffer. People suffer. So Pope is talking a number of issues in this paragraph. I'm going to read and then we will discuss about it a little bit, okay? Laudato Si, Pope Francis' encyclical on ecology environment, first chapter, what is happening to our common home, in the subheading, climate as a common good. So number 25, Pope writes as follows. Climate change is a global problem with grave implications, environmental, social, economic, political, and for the distribution of goods. It represents one of the principal challenges facing humanity in our day. Its worst impact will probably be felt by developing countries in coming decades. Many of the poor live in areas particularly affected by phenomena related to warming, and their means of subsistence are largely dependent on natural reserves and ecosystemic services such as agriculture, fishing, and forestry. There are no other financial activities or resources which can enable them to adapt to climate change or to face natural disasters, and their access to social services and protection is very limited. For example, changes in climate to which animals and plants cannot adapt lead them to migrate. This in turn affects the livelihood of the poor, who are then forced to leave their homes with great uncertainty for their future and that of their children. There has been a tragic rise in the number of migrants seeking to flee from the growing poverty caused by environmental degradation. They are not recognized by international conventions as refugees. They bear the loss of the lives they have left behind without enjoying any legal protection whatsoever. Sadly, there is widespread indifference to such suffering, which is even now taking place throughout our world. Our lack of response to these tragedies involving our brothers and sisters points to the loss of that sense of responsibility for our fellow men and women upon which all civic society is founded. Brilliant. Paragraph number 25, Laudato Si. The impact of climate change. It is not a joke. It's very serious. Many people thought it was a myth. It was a joke. But no, it's very serious. This is reality just back of me. This is the impact of climate change. Now there is no agriculture going on here. Nothing. So the animal life all migrated. Only human is living in this desert. So Pope is talking about the migration of humans in some parts of the world because of climate change, especially in Africa. That is the beautiful example. Sudan, Ethiopia, all these countries, people flee because the climate change turned most of the Africa into desert, and people are migrating. Some people are refugees, and today not much attention is given to refugees. They are not even recognized by major organizations, and they don't rehabilitate refugees. They are still taking care of giving food and maybe little shelter, Medicare, but nobody is thinking about repatriating, give them land and house and make a citizen of a country. We show indifference. So Pope is very much concerned in this paragraph. We show indifference. That is very bad. And that shows the loss of sense of responsibility among humans. And we care for each other. The civic society is founded on caring for each other. I take care of you and you take care of me. That is the basic principle of the civil society. But today, people, they show indifference to these refugees, especially Africa. The climate change has destroyed their livelihood, their forest, their fishing grounds, and their agriculture, and everything has been destroyed. And today, they have to move away from their own land, their own habitat. They are called refugees. And we need to show concern and solidarity towards our brothers and sisters. That is what Pope is telling in the article number 25. So it's all right, human refugees, we know, every day we see them. But the refugees, what climate change has produced and human activity caused in this land, the animals like monkeys, birds, reptiles, mammals, all of them migrated somewhere. But where? I mean, another habitat, there are no habitats left. And they can't really adapt in India unless they take aeroplane and fly to Europe or America. I mean, you go to the next 50 kilometers, the same situation. You go north, south, east, west, same situation. So they are also should be labeled as ecological refugees. Humans alone refugees, what about them? Animals, birds, all of them are considered. We should consider as ecological refugees. You see in India, roads and temples, monkeys, because their habitat is destroyed here. So that is the way they adopted. As I told you, every life adopts. But our Indian monkeys, they think adaptation is good right in the city. So they are in the temples in India, everywhere, on our houses, on the streets. In New Delhi, you go and see the capital, there are thousands of monkeys roaming on the roads. Not only Chennai, Bangalore. In Mysore is another, elephants are roaming. Very often they invade uh, human settlements. You know why? Because once upon a time that area, Mysore, belonged to elephants. So they go by senses, their biological maps. Their brain, uh, elephants, is persuaded to go northeast or southwest. So they go by a map. So that is what is happening in Mysore. But we always uh, misunderstand them. We need to understand them, why they invade Mysore. But we shoot them, we kill them, and we always brand them they are nuisance. The newspapers report elephants invaded Mysore. No, we should have framed as follows: humans invaded Mysore. It is elephant land. I mean, every habitat, every nook and cranny is invaded by humans. So refugees, so not only human refugees, we should show compassion and mercy. We should also show mercy to other creatures. Look at the dog here. They deserve our compassion. And we change them. The wolves were changed into dogs. They forgive us. Still, they show us love and care. And they are the thankful creatures on the planet. And dog is the man's best friend. They forgave you because they could have been happily living in a forest as a wolf. But what we did, we domesticated, changed their DNA, and they have become servants to humans. So, Laudato Si, Pope Francis's encyclical on ecology and environment, the first chapter, what is happening to our common home, in the subheading, climate as a common good. Pope is discussing 4 paragraphs. This paragraph, what I just read for you, number 25. Please read it. Thank you and God bless.